Hey everybody, it's Miss Emily. I hope that we're all feeling confident going into the quiz on Friday, but either way, it's always good to review. So let's jump right into it. This first question on the study guide gives us negative 5x plus 8m plus 2 minus y. So is this an expression or an equation? I'm going to say that this is an expression. Because we don't have an equal sign. So if it had said negative 5x plus 8m plus 2 minus y equals 1, then we would say it's an equation. But we don't have that equal sign, so it's an expression. Next up, how many terms are there? So I see we have negative 5x, positive 8m, positive 2, and negative y. So there are 4 terms. And when you are circling your terms or trying to see which terms you can combine, just make sure that you're circling the sign with it. So for y, I didn't circle y as a term, I circled negative y. And negative 5x is a term, not just 5x by itself. So yeah, there are 4 terms. What are the coefficients? So the coefficient is whatever constant comes before a variable. So our variables are x, m, and y, and so our coefficient is whatever number comes before those. So I'm seeing negative 5, 8, and negative 1. So you want to be careful around y because there's a negative, and so the coefficient is understood to be negative 1. So now what are the constants? The only constant I see is 2 because everything else has a variable attached to it. And then what are the variables? X, m, and y. Okay, so notice how I didn't put negative 5x, 8m, and negative y. So we don't include the coefficients when we're just talking about the variables, and in the same way, we don't include the variables when we're talking about what the coefficients are. All right, cool. Translate the following phrases into algebraic expressions or equations. So the difference between a number and 7 is 5. The first thing I notice is the word difference, and so that means I'm going to subtract something from something. And then a number and 7 tells me what I'm subtracting. So I would say n minus 7. And then it says is 5. So is tells me that there's going to be an equal sign. And is 5 means equals 5. Okay, so this one was actually an equation because we had that is 5 tacked on the end. Let's look at the next one. So 10 times the sum of a number and 4. So we have times, I know that's multiplication. Sum, I know that's addition. So 10 times the sum. That lets me know that I'm going to do the sum before I multiply. So the sum of what? That's where I would come over here and say a number and 4. We don't know the number, so we're not going to try and make up a number. We are going to call it n or x or whatever variable you feel like. So I'm going to stick with n. So sum is addition, so it's n plus 4. But we want to do 10 times that. So I'm going to put this in parentheses and put the 10 out front. Okay, so moving on to the next one. 9 less than the quotient of a number and 3. So 9 less than. Less than is subtraction. And then quotient is division. So I'm going to do the quotient first. And then it's the quotient of a number and 3. So again, I'm going to call a number n because I don't know what that number is. So the quotient of a number and 3 is n over 3. And then 9 less than that is taking 9 away. So I would do minus 9. Okay, so notice how I didn't do 9 minus n over 3, because that would be n over 3 less than 9. But the question says 9 less than the quotient of a number in 3. So the 9 comes after. Okay, cool. Solve for x in each of the following equations. So I'm going to separate these so it's clear where my work is. And then look at the first one, x plus 70 equals 180. So we're adding 70 to x. So the opposite of addition is subtraction. So I'm going to subtract 70 from both sides. And on this side, the 70s are going to cancel because I have positive 70 and negative 70. And on the other side, I'm taking 70 away from 180. And that will give me x. So x equals 180 minus 70 is 110. And that is my answer. Okay, moving on to x minus 33 equals 66. So we have minus 33, so that's subtraction. And the opposite of subtraction is addition. So I'm going to add 33 to both sides. Okay, so when I do that over here, it's going to cancel. And then I'm left with x equals 66 plus 33, which is 99. Okay, 4x equals 14. So 4x implies that I'm multiplying 4 times x, and the opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide both sides by 4. And on this side, the 4's cancel, and I get x. And on the other side, I need to figure out how many times 4 will go into 14. So on the side somewhere, I'm going to do 4 into 14. I know that 4 times 3 is 12. That's 2. And then how many times does 4 go into 2? Well, I know that 2 goes into 4 twice, so that would be half. So 4 goes into 2 half of a time, and so then that would be 2, and I'm left with no remainder. So x equals 3.5. And now over here I have x over 25 equals 11. So when you see that little dash, that's division, and then you can just write it out more clear like I did underneath. So we have x over 25 equals 11. So that's division, and the opposite of division is multiplication. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 25. And over here, these are going to cancel. And I'm left with x equals 25 times 11, which is 275. So the way I thought about that was 10 times 25 is 250, and then 1 times 25 is 25. And so I did 250 plus 25, and that's 275. Or you can multiply it out, whichever you prefer. That's just a little trick if you caught it. So now we want to solve for m in each of the following equations. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this. And again, draw my lines so that we see where our work starts and ends. So m over 6 minus 1 equals 2/3. So first of all, we have a minus 1. And okay, just to recap, in two-step equations, your first step is to either undo addition or subtraction. And then your second step is to undo multiplication or division. So here we have subtraction in the minus 1. So we want to undo that by addition. So we're going to add 1 to both sides. On this side it cancels. And on this side we have 1 plus 2/3. And I want to get a common denominator. So I'm going to say 2/3 plus 3/3. Because 3 divided by 3 is 1, so we can call 1 3/3. That way we can add these. So now we have m over 6 equals 2 plus 3/3, which is 5/3. And now all we have to do is undo the division. So m divided by 6, to undo that, we multiply both sides by 6. These cancel. M equals 6 times 5/3. So 6 times 5 is 30. That over 3 is 10. And so we have m equals 10. Okay. So now this second one has parentheses, so I'm going to remember that when we have 2 multiplied by something in parentheses, I'm going to distribute that 2. So we're going to use the distributive property. So 2 times negative m is negative 2m, and 2 times 7 is 14. Okay, and then we leave 18. So notice how the m had a negative out front, and we were multiplying that by positive 2. So a positive times a negative is a negative, so we got negative 2m. So just make sure that you're being careful with all of your signs. Okay, so now we have a two-step equation, and the first step is to undo either addition or subtraction. So we have addition in the plus 14, so we're going to undo that with subtraction. So subtract 14 from both sides. On this side it cancels. We have negative 2m equals 18 minus 14, which is 4. And now we have multiplication by negative 2. So to undo that, we have to divide by negative 2. Okay, these cancel, and m equals 4 divided by negative 2, which is negative 2. Okay, so when I divided both sides by negative 2, notice how I divided by negative 2, not just 2. So you have to include your signs when you are dividing. So the coefficient was negative 2, and I divided by negative 2 on both sides. Okay, so now we have negative m plus 9 equals 19. So plus 9 is addition. So we're going to undo this with subtraction. So subtract 9 from both sides. These cancel. This is a negative m. So negative m equals 19 minus 9, which is 10. So is this a one-step or a two-step equation? I would argue that this is a two-step equation because you are undoing the addition by subtracting 9 from both sides, but you also cannot leave it as negative m equals 10 because we're looking for m. We're not looking for negative m. So the understood coefficient of this is negative 1. So we need to divide both sides by negative 1 to undo this multiplication by negative 1. These cancel. You get m equals negative 10. All right, cool. Moving on to multi-step equations. Solve for z in each of the following equations. So we have z plus 6 over 7 equals 11. And I'm just going to rewrite this so that it's a little more clear. Okay, so right here, I can't undo the addition first because I'm dividing the whole thing by 7. I'm dividing z plus 6 by 7. So I need to undo the division first. And I'm going to do that by multiplying both sides by 7. On this side, it's going to cancel and give us z plus 6. And on this side, I have 11 times 7, which is 77. Okay, now we can undo the addition. So we're going to subtract 6 from both sides, and you get z equals 77 minus 6. Which is 71. Okay. And over here, we have where we're going to use the distributive property twice. So we have negative 2 on the outside of 3z minus 1, and then we have a positive 2 on the outside of 4z plus 5. So we're going to have to distribute twice. So draw my little arrows showing where I'm multiplying these two. So negative 2 times 3z is negative 6z, because a negative times a positive is a negative. And then negative 2 times negative 1 is positive 1, because a negative times a negative is a positive. Okay, so that's positive 2. Now we're distributing the positive 2 to 4z plus 5. So 2 times 4z is positive 8z. And then 2 times positive 5 is positive 10. That equals 8. Okay, so I want to simplify this because I have some like terms. So I have, let me use a different color, negative 6z and positive 8z. So 8z minus 6z is 2z. And now I have positive 2 and positive 10. Okay, so that's positive 12. Okay, so 2z plus 12 equals 8. And I hope you see how I'm combining those terms. So I'm only combining things that have z with other things that have z, and then I'm combining my constants. So my constants were 10 and 2, and my terms that have variables in them were negative 6z and 8z. Okay, so now we have 2z plus 12 equals 8. And I want to undo this addition by subtracting 12 from both sides. On this side it cancels, so I have 2z equals 8 minus 12, which is -4. Make sure you're being careful with your signs and keeping that negative in front of the 4. So now I want to undo this multiplication by 2 by dividing both sides by 2. And it's going to cancel over here. And then I have z equals -4 divided by 2, which is -2. Okay, so that's why you have to be really careful about your signs, because if I had left that off and done 4 divided by 2, I would have gotten z equals +2, and that is not the correct answer. Okay, simplify the expression 10y plus 3 minus 13y plus 12. So what can we combine? I see a term 10y and -13y. They both have y, so I'm going to combine those. And then also I see multiple constants, so +3 and +12. So I can combine those as well. I'm not going to be able to combine 10y and 3. So I've seen a few times where you try to combine terms that have y with terms that don't. So you may be tempted to say 10y plus 3 is 13y. But we can't do that because the 3 does not have a y. So we can only combine the terms that are like. So 10y and -13y. So when I combine those, I get 10y minus 13y, which equals -3y. And then I also am going to combine my constants, so 3 plus 12, making sure that they're both positive, and they are. And that gives me 15. So it says simplify the expression. So I'm not trying to solve for anything. So now that I've combined my terms, I'm going to say that the simplified expression is -3y plus 15. Okay. Given that a equals 4 and b equals -3, evaluate the expression 2a squared minus 9b. So they have given me a and b, so I can plug those in where I see a's and b's in the expression. So I have 2a squared minus 9b, which is 2 times a squared, which I know is 4 squared, and then minus 9 times b, which I know is -3. I'm just putting it in parentheses so that I don't lose track of that minus sign. So 4 squared is the same as 4 times 4, which is 16. Okay, so this is 2 times 16 minus 9 times -3. And I know that 2 times 16 is 32, and 9 times -3 is -27. So this is minus -27. So I have 2 minus signs, and so minus a negative is a positive. So this is 32 plus 27, and that is 59. Okay, so you should end up with a number. We shouldn't have any more variables because we were given A and B. So we can plug in 4 for A and we can plug in -3 for B, and we should end up with a number. And finally, a little throwback to Unit 1, box and whisker plots. So using the data below, fill in the 5-number summary and sketch the corresponding box and whisker plot. Okay, so hopefully you remember from the first unit that the first thing we want to do is put these numbers in order. So 25, 28, 29, 29, 30, 34, 35, 35, 37, and 38. So first I'm going to identify my minimum and my maximum because I've put them in order, and so those are going to be the easiest to find. They're on the ends. Okay, so my minimum is 25 and my maximum is 38. And I can go ahead and put these on this number line down here, just so I'm creating the box plot as I go. So 25 was the minimum, and 38 was the maximum, so I'm drawing them as points. And the next thing I'm going to do is find the median. So the median is in the middle, so that means I'm going to cross out a number from each side until I get to the middle. But now I have two numbers that are in the middle, 30 and 34. So you'll remember what we did was 30 plus 34 divided by 2. That's 64 over 2, which is 32, which makes sense because 32 is right in between 30 and 34, and that's the whole point of doing that. So now I have the median is 32, and I can go ahead and draw that as a line right here. And now I want to find my Q1 and Q3. So my Q1 is my lower quartile, which is going to be the middle of the left side. So I'm going to follow the same thing we did for the median, but I'm only going to do it on this left side. So cross that out, and we get 29. So 29 is our Q1. And then we do the same thing over here on the right. Cross that out, and that, and that, and that. And 35 is in the middle of the right side. And so 35 is our Q3. And 29 right here, and 35 is right here. So then I connect these, make it look like a box and whisker plot, and we're good. Okay, so I hope that was helpful review. Good luck on your quiz.